Episode 207 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Peter Williams and Spencer Hauser of SuperPacific, brought to you by Fiverr. When I'm looking for a new logo, graphic design help, or a social media scheduler, I go straight to Fiverr. They have a variety of options and services available and never disappoint. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/Fiverr and get inspired to do more with some of the best work delivered by the Fiverr pros. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/Fiverr. Fiverr is Fiverr. Get it today. I believe achieving success in the outdoor biz is dependent upon embracing the outdoor lifestyle and learning from outdoor leaders that came before you. If you agree, then listen up for tips, advice, and hacks about growing or starting your career in the outdoor biz. My name is Rick Sayes. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. So I've been hearing from retailers, brands, outfitters, and others that one of the challenges they face these days is engaging with new and existing customers. You post on all the socials, publish articles, blogs, videos in order to grab attention, and the response is, maybe not, let's just say not what you hoped. Today, a better option is a podcast, and you might think you don't have the time or the budget or the talent to produce one, but I think you do, and I'll show you how. A podcast will give you broader reach to an unlimited amount of customers and a clear opportunity to meaningfully impact a huge number of people. So if you're curious about podcasting, visit podcastersworkshop.com/brainstorm, and let's jump on a call and talk about it. This episode is one of a special series I'm doing with Spencer Hauser and Peter Williams. They are in the early phase of their startup, SuperPacific, and we thought it would be fun to follow what it's like to develop a new product from scratch and launch a new brand. We'll drop a new episode every couple weeks as we talk about how they came up with their idea, what the initial steps were, and all the wins and challenges along the way. And if you have any questions, please send them to rick@ricksays.com, and I'll be sure to ask the guys in future episodes. And be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcast so you don't miss anything. Hey guys, welcome back. How's the last couple of weeks been?
It's been great. We're moving ahead.
Moving right along. Right, cool. So last week we talked about how you were introduced to the outdoors, a little bit about your backgrounds, the project you started. I want to continue down the theme on that project. And we were talking about your family. Each of your families had some folks that had some business skills and stuff. Is there a specific story or inspirational uncle or something that you had that kind of was the catalyst for that, for helping you move forward in your business?
I'll say just seeing my dad and my uncle both run their businesses for their whole lives, and my whole life, it just sort of set me up with the idea that you could do that. If you had an idea, you could just go and do it. So I think I would even go so far as to say I feel like not an expectation, but a little bit prouder talking to them about something I'm trying to start off on my own.
Right.
There's like a sort of family culture around it, I guess.
Right. Did you work in the business too in summers or?
Yeah, I worked for my dad in like summers and weekends. Honestly, I think he sort of used it as a parenting tool where it was like, now that I have a kid, I reflect back on it that it was probably a parenting strategy that I didn't get up and go to work for him.
I'm not going to comment on that.
I think it avoided potentially hard conversations about curfews and stuff if I just had to get up early and go to work.
Right.
And then...
tell our listeners, what was that job again? Tell somebody new that's just tuning in. What was that job?
My dad ran a construction company, so I in the summers and weekends I would get up, and for him I mostly like cleaned job sites and like crawled around in crawl spaces, and it was just grunt work, moving cinder blocks and driving a dump truck around. But I spent a summer working for my uncle, and that was the summer where I really learned the trade of carpentry.
Oh, cool.
And that set me up. After college, it was really easy to just move around to mountain towns where I was excited to live and find work.
Right.
Carpenter and some seasonal work over the years during and after college.
Yeah, cool. Spencer, how about your family?
I as I'm thinking about it right now, I think that seeing, kind of being surrounded with people that just did stuff, that the idea of kind of embarking on my own or doing my own thing, it's just been kind of a natural, yeah, okay, sure. You want to start a business? Well, go ahead, start a business. See what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And though at the same time, I think that being a traditional kind of businessman, business person, my parents were kind of hippies. So, that whole, the idea of being a businessman was kind of frowned on. And so I think I think I kind of looked at it that way until I owned my own business and went, oh, wow, this is super fun. Mm-hmm. And then, I've had a number of really, really good bosses. I worked construction for a while when I was younger and, worked for this guy, Joe, and Joe was a real kind of a hard ass, but he was a really good guy, and he stuck to his word, and he'd drive you, but he would, pay you in the wintertime, even if you didn't have work and stuff. So,
cool.
Yeah. So I think in the back of my mind, not only my parents, but a number of people that I've worked for, a number of friends that I had that were, self-employed, always kind of stuck with me and just made me think, oh yeah, you can just totally go do that. Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's good that you guys both saw all the aspects of being a businessman, business person, because a lot of folks just see the work, right, and they don't realize the accounting and the paying the bills and ordering products and cleaning the bathroom, and when you're just starting out, you got to do everything.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's cool that you guys saw that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep.
Because you're doing it all now, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally.
This is the first time I've ever had a partner, and I'll be honest, I love it.
Let's see. We could go a lot of directions with that, but I think I'll leave that one alone. So what? Back to the product now. So we're into the rooftop tent concept, rooftop camping. Tent of some sort. What kind of research did you do for the product itself? The design of the tent the structure, but then also we talked a little bit about your backgrounds in maritime and aerospace, so you knew a little bit about materials. Was what part of it was where you spent the most of your time? Was it on materials, or was it on just the concept of how we're going to put this thing on the roof and make it pop up and we can sleep in it?
To be honest, I feel like for me anyway, the like majority of the time I spent that is informing this product is just like the last 4 years of trying to camp with a young family and get out, for the weekends. Because that really, like, I'm like into systems, you know what I mean? I like try to figure out like, the truck bed, man, it's going to be packed so tight. It's going to be perfect this weekend. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like we were saying earlier, it's just a ton of energy and time and effort. And I feel, I grew up with kind of out the back door woods access to the outdoors.
Yeah.
And I'm living in Portland, and, we have great access for a city of this size.
Yeah, but you got to get out of the city. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not out the back door. And so for me now, raising a kid in a really different circumstance than I grew up in, those challenges are for me, the biggest informers of the design. And then like work experience has really informed the execution, if that makes sense.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
The way, in kind of thinking through this and what we want to do, there's kind of a story that keeps coming up as we talk to more of our, kind of peers and friends and people with young kids and families and things like that. And, the way the way the story goes is I'll use my wife and I as an example. Before we got married, and before we had kids, we were really active in the outdoors and hiking and mountain biking and tent camping. And, that was what you did. Mm-hmm. And then you have your first child and you immediately realize, if I want to keep doing this, I am now a car camper. I'm not a hiking camper anymore. I'm not doing expeditions. I'm a car camper. And so, you start to develop your whole car camping system and you I had like pictures of the back of my Toyota pickup truck, and the places that all the boxes went into and where the shovels went, and,
right.
I had it dialed in, and I was pretty proud of that. And then, I go camping with my buddy, who's got a Westphalia van, and, we get into the campsite, and he pulls in, and he parks his van and pops his top and opens the side door and starts drinking beer. And meanwhile, I pull in and I'm unpacking all these boxes and putting tents up and, trying to wrangle a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old and his kids are running around while he's drinking beer, and I'm spending 2 hours setting my camp up. And I had this revelation, like, okay, I gotta.
It's time to step it up.
Yeah, we gotta make a move. If we're gonna get serious, if we want to be serious about this, we got to do something serious.
That's
so
a game changer, yeah.
Yeah, and so at that point, you're like, okay, do I go a camper? Do I go a van? Do I go like a Sprinter van? And all of those things come with space requirements, and you try to get into a Sprinter, and you're talking, mortgage payment, right?
Yeah, right. No kidding.
And even the Westies are getting to be that way these days, at least around here. And so, the inspiration for this business kind of comes out of that, and realizing, well, I want a vehicle. I'm a truck guy. I'm always going to have a truck. But what can I have that's not going to impact on my truck? And what can I have that allows me to literally on a Friday afternoon go, hey kids, let's go camping, and jump in the truck and get out of town and spend less time setting up and more time having a good time in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm. And so most of your research sounds like it was very product based. You guys didn't have to do much research on what it takes to start a business because you had a little bit of that in your backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
And I'd say we have we both have an instinct to surround ourselves with people that are smarter than us.
Mm-hmm.
We've
very much so.
We've really drawn on our network to bring in advisors and, try to see where our blind spots are. Of course, it's always hard to see a blind spot by definition.
Yeah, but that's really smart. I mean, that's a good one for listeners to take away if you're just starting a project of your own is, we're all surrounded by all kinds of people who have all kinds of talents, and don't be afraid or hesitant to reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling with the bank or the, whatever it might be, and let them deal with it.
Yep. I would love at some point in the future when we have a successful business to say, that's right, Rick.
Then you can go to the bank instead of getting the wallet out again, right?
Exactly.
I'll say, Spencer and I both have a professional background in product design, and so, maybe we're being fools, but we have a high level of confidence in the product, and we have a really clear problem that we're trying to solve.
Right.
And I don't see anybody out there really addressing this specific problem that we have. So all of that feels really positive. And the area where I have the most anxiety is around just building a brand. I've been associated with them, and I've kind of over the shoulder seen it done, but I've never really been in charge of that before.
Yeah, but like you said, you've been around it enough where you can bring in, that one of the people that are out there, kind of your buddies or something are just waiting for you to ask, right? I mean, I don't know who did your logo or who's doing your website, but they're just kind of, they may not want to, force their way in or be as presumptuous as you guys need help, but one of these days you're going to raise your hand and say, okay, we've got the logo. We got our product is 70% done. The next one we get is going to be ready to be photographed, blah, 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 blah. We need to start dialing up this brand, or maybe it'll come sooner than that. And somebody in your sphere of influence will pop up, I would think.
Yeah. We've been reaching out to a few people who have, that relevant expertise.
Right.
And everyone has been so generous with their time and enthusiastic. And that has been a really nice, I don't know what the word is, affirmation of the whole effort. Just that everyone we talk to about the project gets excited,
Mm-hmm.
That is, I don't know, it just is very reassuring.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. And how did you decide where to begin? What was the first step that you took? Was it, we're going to go down and register the name? Was it, let's figure out.
I got on Amazon. Are you familiar with Amazon.com?
Yeah, they're out of Seattle, aren't they? A little small startup out of Seattle.
Yeah. I got on there and I bought little miniature Dodge Power Wagon that has like active steering and full shocks and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, like little 1/10 scale.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I brought it over to Spencer's, and we like had a couple drinks and broke out his like Technic Lego set.
I love it.
We just like got real weird one night, man.
That's very cool.
Yeah, we built all sorts of cool stuff out of Legos, and we've had we've had all sorts of ideas that were never ever going to work. But yeah, we tried it out in Legos. So yeah,
that's brilliant though, because that doesn't cost hardly anything. It's small. You can put it in the corner of the garage. It's not like you got this practice van in the driveway you're dealing with. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super fast. We were like it was kind of laughable. He has this really sweet Lego set that has like a pneumatic armature, so you can like drive a pump and it'll extend a gas spring basically.
Wow.
We were like, no, that's not how to do it, man. If we like build the mechanism this way, it'll open like this. It's really sweet. And like constantly just like, no, we just pushed it back to a very simple form factor.
Yeah, we came up with a number of super complicated opening mechanisms that I'm really glad that Sam took over and we're not trying to bring any of these things to market.
So what are the kind of things that you bought on Amazon that were to execute that? I mean, I can't imagine.
It was just that it was like it's now in my son's room and he plays with it. It's this awesome little miniature pickup truck. And that was just like the really small form factor. And then we had, Spencer's Lego kit, hot glue gun, some balsa wood, and it was just really quick, just really basic architecture iterations. We probably cycled through, I don't know, a dozen ideas over the course of a couple nights.
Wow, that's very cool.
Trying to figure out what general architecture was going to be the most promising for, a reliable product that would solve the problem we were trying to.
So that's got to be in your archives. Don't let that thing get away, because once this becomes big, and that's got to be in your office somewhere and behind a glass case. It all started right there.
Rick, you're going to have to talk to my little boy about thinking about it. I'll get him on the podcast. You guys can hash that out.
Yeah.
You have to buy him something else, right?
Yeah.
And so that must be quite a Lego kit to have all the stuff that you could. Did you have to buy any other parts and pieces or miniature things to make? Was there any manufacturing that went on at that stage, or was it just all put together with Lego? That's interesting.
Yeah, it was just kind of Lego and balsa wood and hot melt glue. Lots of drawings, sketches and stuff on notepads and things like that as we discussed, little details and things like that. And once we kind of settled on the idea, that's when I actually drew up some kind of critical parts and had some pieces laser cut and bent up and started riveting things together to see, all right, yeah, that looks like that's going to work. So,
and what was the first vehicle you started working on?
I've got a Ford and Peter's got a Toyota.
Trucks?
Yeah, both. I got a Ford F-150. Peter's got a newer Toyota Tacoma.
Uh-huh.
Lucky for us, based on the research we've done, the Toyota pretty much owns this marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and my background in manufacturing, and kind of lean manufacturing, lean concepts, and design that way. Designing something that's really modular and easy to adapt to whatever vehicle platform we want, has really been a big part of this whole process as well.
Right. And do you have friends with trucks that you borrow to, get some inspiration and ideas and see if this will work on? It'll work on that. Will it work on this? That kind of thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We got friends coming out of the woodwork.
So did you get to borrow those trucks, or did you have to rent them? Were they smart enough to rent them to you?
Oh no, that's.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
We're not quite at the point of mounting something on a truck just now. We've got full size swatches basically. Spencer's got kind of a half canopy in his room here.
Gotcha.
But we just, I think, like today, or when did you close the deal on our tool order?
Yesterday.
Yeah. So we're waiting part of the design has some sort of custom materials built into it. And so we triggered that order. We went through this whole thing of like, oh shit, now we have to raise some money because we can't just fund this like custom tooling and all of our sort of capital investment and tools to start building these things out of pocket.
Right.
So that was sort of, I didn't anticipate the time it would take to get our act together around getting some initial upfront investment.
Mm-hmm.
But once we did that and we triggered our order of this custom material, and now Spencer placed the order of our tool set to start building the full scale kind of production ready first models. So we're in sort of like a waiting period now where we're going to receive delivery of tools soon, and that will let us build the first ones to mount to the full size pickups and start driving down the highway.
Wow, cool. So you're pretty far along.
Yeah, they're coming fast.
Yeah. It's around the corner.
And I like.
I was just saying, what's the fabric part of it like? What do you, not to give away any trade secrets, but are you just using like a fairly typical ripstop nylon concept, or is it PVC based? What's it like?
It's acrylic.
Okay.
It's a polyester woven textile that's impregnated with acrylic, and it's just a waterproof textile that's pretty common in the maritime industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so after we sort of did our like super fast iterative process and got to an architecture that we felt good about, Spencer and I kind of diverged, and he ran with the metal and I ran with the tent.
Got you.
So I have I bought it from Dana and Renee. I have an industrial sewing machine in my garage.
Oh, yeah.
And so I worked in my garage at quarter scale and kind of iterated on the tent design.
Uh-huh.
And I had some like pretty clear problems I was trying to solve. And so I worked them out to the point where I felt confident about the general design, and then built out a tech pack and have been working with a local manufacturer who's going to handle the production side of that.
Cool.
So they're going to build the first full scale prototype that will mount onto a truck and go from there.
And you guys thinking the whole thing's going to be manufactured in the USA?
Yeah, we're building.
Cool.
We're all local partnerships, and we're trying to have redundancy as much as we can.
I'm a big advocate for making as much of it here locally as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So I owned a brand called Speedy Moto, and we made aftermarket Ducati motorcycle parts. So we designed them in-house, and we had a machine shop, and we'd make all our parts. And we had explored going overseas with some of our parts. And where it makes sense to have some stuff built offshore.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have some pretty serious volumes for it to really make sense.
Right.
And when you have the volumes, prices are awesome. And I believe some of the machined parts coming out of Taiwan are some of the best manufactured parts you're going to get in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we're going to do that kind of volume in this company, even in our somewhat wildest dreams.
Yeah.
And
small market, really, always will be.
Yeah. And really, these are going to be hand built tent units. So,
mm-hmm.
And I also know lots and lots of vendors and have been in the business around here for about 20 years. So I know lots of people that can make this stuff, right, make the things we want.
It reduces your time to market too. I mean, you don't have to wait on, parts and pieces, and because that process overseas takes a long time too.
Yeah.
And we're both just hands-on, the value of being able to pop over to the factory and just say,
right,
no, let's do it this way. That's huge,
Right. So back to the fundraising piece. How did that come about? Did you do a Kickstarter thing, or did you consider that? What was that?
We considered it, but the price point on these is pretty high. It felt like hard sell on Kickstarter, So we were like, holy shit, we have to, we have to figure out
right. That's a lot of cash you got to raise.
Right. So we basically I talked to some of my buddies who are CEOs and own some good sized businesses. And we kind of developed a game plan to just kind of raise some startup investment money. Mm-hmm. And so we put together a little pitch pack, and we just started basically talking to friends and family and friends of family and kind of refined our pitch a little bit. And frankly, the people that we raised the money from, some of them just kind of surprised us a little bit, with being very generous and very helpful and
that's cool.
Yeah. And frankly, being really psyched about what we're doing.
For sure. So, I was surprised by how long it took to get a packet together that felt, like a good pitch.
Yeah, right.
I was also surprised by how quickly that materialized into investment.
Yeah.
So cool. I was simultaneously like, I really didn't expect to be putting this much time into raising money, but also like I really didn't expect to raise the money this fast.
Yeah. And so, do they get a little like piece of the action, shares in the company, or what's? Not to get into too many details, but
we raised debt. So we took out loans basically, and we're going to give them a generous interest rate over 2 years, and then they'll be with us in some capacity through the whole venture.
Gotcha. Yeah, and part of the deal too with a lot of these people is that we probably will have to do another round of funding at some point.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah.
But at that point, I think we'll have a better idea of what the company's worth, mm-hmm. and at that point we could do kind of an equity round and either convert the monies that people already have with us or
sure.
raise more. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, no, very exciting. Congratulations on that. That's a huge part of kind of an obstacle to go overcome for a lot of folks. So that's great.
It was simultaneously like the biggest relief and stressor I've ever done.
Yeah.
Hey, can I make a quick plug for my friend Josh, who did our graphic design?
Yeah.
He was absolutely integral to putting our pitch deck together to raise money.
Oh, cool.
We were like, here's a bunch of bullet points and like some ideas, and put it into this like really, really visually palatable display.
Nice.
That was like, we'd email it out, have a conversation, folks got it. It just made it so much easier.
That's huge. Yeah, right on. Good job, Josh.
If we can promote him in any way, I would definitely like to do that.
Yeah, is he? We'll link to him in the show notes. Give me his website and all that stuff, and we'll.
I will. I enthusiastically will do that. Yeah.
Yep. Right on. Cool.
Hey, one more thing I want to just say about raising money is that, Peter and I, we're relatively conservative with money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to go into massive debt to start this company, and we also don't want to and didn't want to use people's money frivolously.
Right.
And I got to say that I was surprised at the number of people that I pitched to that said, "Man, you're not raising enough money, and this isn't risky enough for me." And
interesting.
It was very, very interesting.
That was an education for sure.
Yeah, it was something else to have someone say, "Oh man, you should raise $500,000." I don't know what I do with $500,000.
Right.
What are you talking about? Right? Yeah.
And were these people that had access to that kind of money, had been involved in that kind of fundraise before, or because I think a lot of us that haven't done that, don't really, I think I would take the same approach. I would go a little more conservative, but if you follow CNBC or you read in the news, you look at all this money being thrown about and you go, holy crap, what are they going to do with that?
Yeah.
And so I think some folks that are on the money loaning side or the money giving side might be used to that and would maybe turn their nose up at something that's so small. I don't know. I've never done that.
I think that's it. I learned that there are sort of two types of folks. I mean, at least in my experience, there have been two types of folks in this situation.
Yeah.
And one of them are friends and family that believe in you and are stoked to they get the vision, they get you, and they're stoked to help you do it. They're in a position to help you do it.
Yeah.
And I realized after a little while that those were really the people we were talking to, because we spoke to some people who are kind of more of like a professional investor,
right,
and wanted to invest a lot more money and own part of a company,
right,
with the idea that there was sort of an infinite upside for them,
right.
which that makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah.
But we didn't feel like we needed that much money.
Yeah. And there are those deals out there. So, more power to you, go get them, but that's not your deal. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was just naive going into it and uneducated. So that was a really interesting process for me to kind of gain some clarity around that.
Yep.
Cool. Good. Well, let's put a wrap on episode 2. And I think next time we get back together, we'll talk a little bit more about the details of the product and, maybe whatever specificity you want to get into, without giving away any trade secrets about materials, design, and stuff like that. And get everybody, more into what it is you're actually building.
Cool.
Yeah, excellent, Rick.
That
right on. Well, thanks, guys.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right.
Sounds good, man.
See ya. Thank you for listening. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, be sure and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Be sure and go to the outdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Have a great week and be sure to get outside.